Earlier, my name is Keith Marciniak. I am the APhA Senior Director of Student and New Practitioner Development at the American Pharmacists Association, and I also serve as one of the co-section leaders of the pharmacy section at the University of Utah School on Alcoholism and Other Drug Dependencies. And I'd like for Missy, can you introduce yourself?
Hi everybody, my name is Missy Duke, and I am the Senior Director for Specialty Pharmacy Services at Banner Pharmacy Services, and I'm also one of the co-section leaders for the pharmacy section of the Utah School.
And tonight, what we're going to do is spend a little bit of time talking about the Utah School and how to prepare over the next week and a half for your trip out to Utah. Talk a little bit about some of the expectations on what you'll see on campus, how to get to campus, how to get around, just kind of the basic overview so that you're well aware of what needs to happen. Now tonight, also joining us, he's at work right now, but it's Charlie Broussard. Charlie is a staff pharmacist at Mercy Hospital in Ohio, and Charlie is our third section leader at the Utah School. So you'll see myself, Charlie, and Missy all throughout the week, and we really want to serve as your resource as much as we can to provide you with the best experience that we can while you're at the Utah School there. So that's a picture of all three of us there. So before I kind of move any further, we'd love for you guys to join our event page on Facebook. Right now, the Facebook page is the APhA-ASP national page that we have, and it's actually under one of the events there, as you can kind of see on the screen. We'd love for as many of you guys as you can to join. Right now, we have all of our ambassadors. They're going to be kind of looking at some of the questions that are posted up there, and they're going to be answering them as best as possible, kind of up until we get to Utah. So if you guys have questions, please let us know, and what we'll do is we'll try to answer those as best as possible. We also do want to have you guys follow us on Twitter as well. The hashtag Utah School as well as hashtag APhA-ASP is what we'll be using to kind of communicate throughout the week there. So Crystal Atwell, one of my staff members at APhA, she's the Director of Student Development at APhA. She's going to help us out from the tech end, but she's going to launch our first poll for this evening. While she launches that poll, I'm going to read the question. It is, the University of Utah School on Alcoholism and Other Drug Dependencies is celebrating its what annual session? And your answers are the 25th, the 38th, the 47th, the 63rd, or the 85th. And we'd love for everybody to submit your answer now.
All right, everyone, good evening. Your poll is open, and it looks like we've had about half of the people respond, so we'll leave that open for about 15 more seconds so that we can get all of our guesses in there. Your choices, again, are 25th, 38th, 47th, 63rd, and 85th. All right, it looks like we have almost everyone, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. And now I will show you your results. So it looks like the most predominant answer is the 38th anniversary, followed in second place by the 63rd anniversary. So Keith, what's the right answer? So it looks like Keith is showing that it's the 63rd anniversary.
Yeah, I've been on mute the entire time there, Crystal. I do apologize. That's kind of funny. So this is actually going to be the 63rd annual session, as Crystal mentioned. We'll be celebrating it the 15th through the 20th there. We'd like to launch our second poll question for the evening. My last visit to Salt Lake City, Utah was recently. I live in the area. Within the past 3 years, within 3 to 10 years, 10 plus years, or never. This is my first trip to Utah. So why don't you launch that, Crystal?
All right, it looks like almost everyone has submitted their answer, so I'll give it a couple more seconds and we'll close this poll. All right, so the poll is now closed, and here are your results. So 74% of people have never been to Utah. This is going to be their first trip. 16% have actually been there within the past 3 years, and 2% of the people actually live in the area.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so now I'm going to turn the session over to Missy as a recent resident of Utah. She's going to give you an overview of what it's like.
Thank you, Keith. I'm excited to see that so many people, this will be their first time to Utah. Having lived there for the past 6 years or so, I can tell you how beautiful a state Utah is, and so I'm excited for everybody to get to experience it. Now is about the time when we start to get a lot of questions about what to prepare or how to prepare for the Utah school, what to pack, what to plan for, so on and so forth. And so we wanted to cover some of those basics so that we could answer any questions ahead of time and also just get your minds wrapped around what to pack for and what to plan for. So we'll start off by talking about what to wear. The Utah school is a different conference as compared to other pharmacy conferences that you might have had experience attending. This is a very casual conference, and so casual attire is absolutely appropriate. Things like T-shirts, golf shirts, casual button-down shirts are absolutely the name of the game. Shorts, cargo shorts, or dress shorts are very appropriate for all of the sessions, or casual pants. One bit of advice that we generally give to attendees, particularly first-time attendees, is to wear comfortable or casual shoes, such as athletic shoes or well-supported sandals. There really is no need to dress formally for any of the programming that we have. And the reason why we emphasize comfortable shoes is because there is quite a bit of walking involved with the program. There's a bit of a distance, a good walking distance between the dorms or the hotels and where we actually have the classes, and so you want to plan your shoes accordingly. In terms of after the conference, when you have free time, when you're out and about traveling around Salt Lake City, the vast majority of the restaurants and entertainment venues have only require casual dress. So don't feel like you have to dress up to go out to eat or anything like that in Salt Lake City. One other question or issue that sometimes does come up has to do with the temperature in the rooms. So in June in Salt Lake City, the highs tend to be in the 80s or 90s. So it definitely gets warm, especially in the afternoon outside. All of the rooms are air conditioned, and so what that creates is a bit of a temperature disparity between the inside air conditioned temperature and the outside. And so as the air conditioning is clicking on and off, we can sometimes get some temperature fluctuations. And so if you're a person that is particularly sensitive to that, you may want to plan by bringing a sweater or layering your clothing so that you can be comfortable in the room with the air conditioning. So that's something to think about as well. When you are looking at your attire and sort of what to pack, we do require that your clothing have no reference to any tobacco, alcohol, or drugs on it, and so just be aware of that. And the reason why is that both within the pharmacy section and within other sections that are part of the Utah school, we have attendees that are in various stages of recovery and have various sensitivity levels to that kind of messaging, and so we want to be very respectful of all the attendees and avoid any attire that has those references. So that kind of takes care of that. Moving on to the next slide. Give us just 1 second here to load it. We'll talk a little bit about, this just shows you, this is a photo of the room where the majority of our sessions will be held, and this just gives you a sense of the dress that the attendees have. So shorts are absolutely okay, very casual shirts. We have a tendency for the attendees will sit in pretty close proximity to one another, so just plan for that. In terms of what to pack, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. If you are staying in a hotel, whether it be the Marriott there or the University Guest House, you should expect standard hotel accommodations, towel sheets, those kinds of things are all part of that. If you're staying at the dorms, and the vast majority of the students tend to stay at the dorms, those are their student dorms, and so they're leased out to students for the school year, and then they're vacated for the summertime, and that's how we're able to access them. And with that, they give you just very basic accommodations. And so it's our recommendation that you maybe bring some of your own accommodations if you're sensitive or just to be more comfortable. So the first thing is bring a pillow and blanket. They'll issue you a pillow and a blanket, but they tend to be very basic. And so if you've got room and can bring those, then it might be a good thing to consider. The next is a bath towel. So you'll get a very small bath towel as part of your dorm registration, but bringing your own is going to be helpful as well. Flip-flops for the shower. Because these are dorms, there are students rotating in and out of there all the time. They tend to lease the dorms out to other programs throughout the summer, and so these are pretty high-traffic kind of shower areas. So just to keep everybody safe, you might want to plan for some flip-flops to use in the shower. And then, as I mentioned earlier, think about packing a light jacket or a sweater, particularly if you're sensitive to the cold temperatures. One of the things that we'll spend a lot of time on at the end of this session is our hike. And so one of the highlights of the Utah school is that we take anyone who's interested on a hike up through one of the foothills that's near the university. And it's a pretty intermediate to advanced hike, and so hiking boots are important if you plan on participating in the hike. And then a backpack as well, with any standard provisions that you would take on a general hike. So flashlight, water, Gatorade, good shoes, those kinds of things you'll want to plan for that hike. But again, we'll go into that a little bit later on in our presentation. Go ahead, and we will change the slide here. Okay, in terms of what to eat during the Utah school, there are a few different options that are available to you. So if you're staying in the dorms, there is a union building that is located right in the same complex as the dorms, and they serve breakfast and lunch. It's kind of a buffet style. You pay one fee, and then you get to access all the food that they have served. And they also have a small convenience store that's right there on campus, and that's called that's actually the Heritage Center, which is right there on the complex of the dorms. When you're in class or when you're actually in the session, you'll actually eat at the union building, and that's right downstairs from where the class is, so it's very convenient to access during the session. And that's kind of got a food court style where there's a sandwich station, there's a salad station, there's usually a Mexican food station and a Chinese food station, so you can eat a variety of different things depending on what your interests are. And then there's, again, a little convenience store there for you to pick up granola bars and sodas and things like that throughout the day if you need a snack. Couple of things to keep in mind. The union building is not open during the weekends. It's only open on Monday through Friday, and so on Sunday when we get there, that's not going to be available to you. The Heritage Center, which is right there near the dorm, that is going to be available and open on the weekends, and so if you get in early and want to have some breakfast or some lunch, then the Heritage Center is going to be your best on-campus option. We have a variety of restaurant choices that are off-campus, both within walking distance and accessible through our TRAX system, which is the public transportation system. And so the closest restaurants within walking distance are on 1300 East, which is right there just west of the campus. And so once you get kind of oriented, it'll be pretty easy to figure out how to get to 1300 East, and you'll get a campus map when you register at the dorms. So there's a sub sandwich restaurant right there. There's a burger shop. There's a Greek restaurant right there. There's a variety of food options that are right there in your campus. And then if you're interested in going off campus, then I would recommend using the TRAX system, which is our public transportation system. Our ambassadors this year have done an excellent job of putting together some restaurant options and some recommendations for first-time attendees, so that if you want to go off campus and explore, they've given you some of their recommendations. And so that we'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation as well. And then that document will also be sent out to help you prepare for your Utah experience. Okay, moving on to the next slide here. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the TRAX system, which is our public transportation system. You can kind of see on the slide the map where we have TRAX lines that are available to us. There is one that's right near campus, and so it's really not too far of a walk between the dorms or the university guest house or the union building, which is where the programming occurs. It's not very far to access the TRAX system, and you can take it into downtown. You can take it to a couple of the city malls that are located within Salt Lake City if you want to be able to access some of the restaurants and entertainment venues. The track system also is available to take you to and from the airport. And so if that's something that you're interested in, then I would recommend that you visit the website, which is rideutah.com, to get more information about the schedule of the trains to and from the airport so that you can plan accordingly. One point to consider if you are thinking about taking the tracks from the airport to the university is that from the station where you get off to go to the dorms, there's a bit of a walk between the train station and where the registration is, and that walk is uphill. So if that's something that you're not looking forward to, then I would recommend taking a cab, because the cab can get you very, very close to where you register for the dorms. If you use the track station, then I would plan on a walk that's at least a couple of blocks long, and that it has a slight incline to it. So just so you know kind of what to prepare for as you make your travel arrangements. All right, just advance the slide here. One question that we always get is has to do with rental cars and whether or not they're needed. If you are interested in doing a lot of off-campus exploring, if you want to go see the mountains or go up one of the canyons, then rental cars are the way to do it. We don't have a lot of public transportation options to get you up to see the mountains around Salt Lake City. But if you are there and you're planning on staying at the University of Utah most of the time, you might want to see some of the downtown Salt Lake City attractions, then public transportation is absolutely effective to go do all of those things. One other note here that we'll just mention is that if you have plans to stay at the Marriott Hotel, they actually do have a shuttle that they can use to pick you up from the airport and take you back and forth, but you'll want to plan ahead and make sure that you communicate with that hotel because they have a tendency to get backed up and it might cause some delays that you weren't planning on if you don't plan ahead. So that's our advice around using that hotel. And here, oops, looks like we clicked ahead a couple of times. That's okay. Here, this just shows you a map of the campus and some areas that we will be frequenting throughout the week. So the first section here, you can see the University Guest House. That's that top circle. That's the hotel that's right on campus. And so if you're staying there, then that's where you'll stay. And you can kind of see the road. It's Mario Capecchi that you'll take to actually access that hotel. Just to the right of that, or to the east of that, you can see the student, the dorms. And so if you're staying at the dorms, you'll actually take one of those side roads around, and they can drop you off right in front of the Heritage Center. So if you're taking a cab and you're going right to the dorms, then just tell your taxi cab driver that you need to get to the University of Utah Heritage Center off of Mario Capecchi Drive, and he'll be able to take you right up to that area, and that's where you're registered for your dorm. So you'll register at the Heritage Center, and then once you get your registration materials, then you'll actually walk to the dorm building. So if we're following the path of circles there across to the right, you'll see where the dorm buildings are. There are a few different buildings that we have that you might stay in, and so you'll get your building number, your room number, and your key when you register, and then you'll walk down there to actually drop off your stuff. The circle in the lower right-hand side of the map is actually the Marriott Hotel. So if you're staying at the Marriott Hotel, that's just to give you a sense of where it's at in the big picture. That's where you'll go. The circle that's over to the far left, that's the Open Union Building, and that's where the Utah School programming is going to occur. So all of the sessions that we have are going to be in the Open Union Building with just a couple of exceptions, and we'll talk through those on Sunday during your on-site orientation. So for the most part, just plan on going to that Open Union Building on Sunday afternoon to get started, and then we'll give you instructions for throughout the week during that opening session on Sunday. So this photo here just shows you a photo of the dorms so that you can get a sense of what they look like and what to expect. So there are various buildings that you might be housed in, and then there are quad areas or courtyard areas in between them. And so you'll see a lot of students kind of shuffling around and milling around throughout the school. This last photo here is, this is just a photo of our stadium at the University of Utah. Most of us remember, but in 2002, Salt Lake City hosted the Winter Olympics. And so there's a lot of reference to the Olympics when you get to Salt Lake City. The dorms that you'll be staying in actually were built to house the Olympic athletes during those games. And so you'll see a lot of references to that, and it's kind of an ongoing theme for the Utah school since 2002. And so if you're interested and want to explore the city or explore the campus, then I would definitely recommend that you walk by this stadium. There's, you can see the Olympic torch in this photo, but there's a lot of pretty cool sights to see and monuments there that have to do with the Olympics. And so I would encourage you, if you have a little bit of spare time, to check some of that stuff out. Okay, I'm going to turn things back over to Keith to talk about the highlights for the week. If you have any questions about any of the things that we said up to this point, then I would just encourage you to take note of those, and we will address those at the end of the session.
Great. Thank you so much, Missy. I appreciate it. I'm going to spend just a little bit of time kind of going over some of the sessions and what to expect from the educational side of things. But Saturday, Sunday is usually the day that the majority of the students will arrive. We ask that you please, please, please try to get registered. And that registration, Missy mentioned 2 registrations. Your first registration is going to be at the Heritage Center if you're staying at the dorms, so that you'll get your key and you'll get your information, internet password, that sort of thing. But you're also going to have to register for the conference. And everybody filled out their application, submitted their payment. If you have to make any additional payments, you'll do that that day. But that'll actually be on the 3rd floor of the Union building, and we'll try to have our ambassadors kind of camped out there on Sunday afternoon starting at 2 o'clock to show you where to go. And there's usually a pretty decent amount of signage to let people know where to go. But that's all going to be in that Union building on that 3rd floor there. We'll start promptly with the pharmacy section at 4 o'clock that afternoon. And we encourage everybody to bring your school shirt or wear your school colors. It kind of helps distinguish where the students are from. You get to meet some students maybe that are from your state that you didn't know before, or we've even had the case where you meet somebody from a satellite campus that you actually never have met before. So we encourage you guys to kind of do that. Plus all the pharmacists who are there and new practitioners who are there, they're going to associate with you because they're alum from one of those schools as well. So it kind of helps build that network throughout the rest of the week. For the rest of the evening, we'll kind of spend some time going through the addiction process, what it is. We'll talk a little bit about recovery. We'll do more or less of an opening kind of welcoming session where we're going to challenge you to kind of expand your goals and objectives for the week and kind of think a little bit about what you want to accomplish while you're here in Utah. But something that we'll have is we'll have some food for you starting off on Sunday night. We will have some box lunches there for everybody, so I encourage you to get there early. They usually do go quickly, but we try to make sure that we will have enough to go around. But try to arrive as early as you can. Sunday is also Father's Day, so just make a note for yourself. Monday morning, for all of our sessions, we'll pretty much start around that 8:30 hour. And we're going to kind of go throughout the rest of the week there around that time. And we'll try to get done around 4:30 throughout the rest of the week there. But one of the things I do want to mention is that the first general session is there. It's pretty much from 9 to 12. But the university credit for all of those student pharmacists who are taking the week as university credit, you need to make sure that you go to every session. And that starts actually on Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock. We'll actually have a sign-in process where everybody has to either have a sticker or sign your name off to show that you were there for that session. And that's where our ambassadors, as well as Missy and your staff, will kind of get you guys plugged in to make sure you're set and ready to go for university credit. The rest of the afternoon, we'll spend some time talking about the brain chemistry, the science behind it. We'll talk a little bit about pathophysiology of addiction, as well as addictive disorders. And then on Monday night, we have 2 options kind of for some group activities. One is the hike that Missy mentioned, but then also Charlie Broussard meets with everybody at the same location in the quad at Sage Point where the dorms are, and he'll walk everybody up to Red Butte Gardens. And that's actually a very nice outdoor garden. They've got ton of beautiful plants that are native to the area, as well as kind of a nice setting. You'll really enjoy it. I would encourage you guys to bring, I think it's $9 to go through Red Butte. Tuesday morning, we'll spend a little bit of time talking about the science end, and then we'll kind of transfer over into more of some ethical and legal discussions. I'm actually kind of excited this year. We're going to talk a little bit about Colorado's choice to make marijuana legal, and how does that affect you as a pharmacist, maybe a recovering pharmacist, but within your pharmacy, how do you work with patients who go across the border and then come back to your state and maybe have some drug interactions, that sort of thing. But we're going to talk about the clinical, legal, and ethical side of those. And then we'll kind of wrap up Tuesday with a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and that's just before our school picnic. On Tuesday evening, school picnic probably starts around 5 o'clock. It comes with your registration, and we encourage as many of you guys, if you can, to really go to the picnic. Every year they have more or less of a demonstration or a ceremony where they have some of the Native Americans that are from the Utah area. They'll come in and they'll actually perform some of the Native American dances that they have. They go to quite a few competitions around the nation, and the family that kind of comes to do it, they just do a phenomenal job each year. It's just a wonderful, wonderful experience. So I encourage you guys to go to that. Wednesday night, we're actually going to, or Wednesday starting in the morning, we're going to break into 2 different tracks throughout the day. We're going to kind of split the students as well as the pharmacists together, and we've got quite a few things for the pharmacists to attend there. But this is the day where we've talked about the science. We started to talk a little bit about what it's like to be in recovery as a pharmacist on Tuesday, but now we're going to kind of go into some of the family dynamics and talk a little bit about treatment and counseling within our curriculum. This is also the day where we'll, for those of you who are in Al-Anon, we'll actually have an Al-Anon open meeting, and that'll occur in the evening there. And then after 5:30, this is your free time to go out and explore Salt Lake City. So Sunday night, we go kind of late. Monday, we've got the hike and Red Butte Gardens walk. Tuesday, we've got the picnic, and then Wednesday is kind of your time to kind of go out and see the sights. So I encourage you guys, if you want to, make dinner reservations that night, get a large group out, go down to the tracks, and go see a little bit of Salt Lake. On Thursday morning, we'll start off, and this is one of those things where we need to make sure that everybody is there on time. We start at 8:30, and we actually are going to observe a group who is going to go through one of their group sessions. The director of the entire program at the Utah school, he actually is a psychologist, and he brings those who are actually in recovery. Some of them are a week old, some of them are 90 days in. But we actually sit and listen to maybe 12 or 15 individuals go through their group therapy experience. And so we can't have people walking in and out. We can't have people bringing coffee in. We can't have people eating food, so on and so forth, because we're really kind of sitting and observing and listening to pretty dramatic things that happen to their lives. So I encourage you guys to make sure that you're there on time, and that's really a don't miss session. The afternoon, student pharmacists will spend a Generation RX workshop. So for all of you Generation RX chairs that are out there, or those of you who work with the project, I encourage you guys to jot down some ideas of how you have been successful in your program, some ideas that you want to share, so maybe some of the things that you've struggled with a little bit over the past couple of years with GenRx, because we're going to use this kind of as an information sharing session. We have the 3 national award-winning chapters. They're going to give a presentation on what they've done, and then we'll kind of open up for Q&A. If you haven't participated in GenRx, I encourage you guys to call your chair, find out what your chapter has done, so you can kind of report a little bit out on what your chapter has been able to do in regards to prescription drug abuse. Thursday also offers another opportunity for pharmacists to kind of go out and branch out, and they've got a few great sessions there that kind of focus on spirituality, unique problems, as well as do pharmacists actually have a higher risk for addiction. We'll end the day on a high note with a humor and laughter section, and then we'll have the pharmacist open meeting. And whereas you saw we have Alcoholics Anonymous on Monday night, we have IPA Alcoholics Anonymous is on Sunday night, IPA is on Monday. We do Narcotics Anonymous on Tuesday, Al-Anon on Wednesday. This doesn't have an AA or an NA tied to it. This is pretty much an open meeting, and we've done this for many, many years where the pharmacist section just kind of gets together and talks. And so I have to tell you, if you're coming to the Utah school and you don't go to any of the AA or NA or even some of the open meetings that we have, you're truly not going to get anything out of the experience to the level that you would really want to. These are the sessions where a lot of the pharmacists there who are in recovery, they really open up, and it's an opportunity for you to hear a little bit about it. We have a lot of students who go who maybe never understood why a parent or a sibling, what they've really struggled through or why they do the things that they do. But when you hear and you listen to some of the stories that are out there, it is truly eye-opening. And I think it takes the science side of things, it takes the intervention, it takes the treatment and counseling, and kind of brings it all together to that point where you finally kind of understand a little bit more about the addiction process. So I encourage you guys to make sure you spend some time doing that. But Thursday night, it's another opportunity for you to go out and see Salt Lake, but it's also an opportunity to pack because we do have to leave on Friday morning. What we're going to do is start at 8 o'clock. We'll have continental breakfast, so it's usually like bagels, muffins, so on and so forth. That does go quick, so I encourage you guys to get there early. But we also have an opportunity for you to store your bags at the Heritage Center. They usually have one of their larger rooms that you can put your bags in there, or if you want to bring it down to the Union Building, you guys can store your bags there depending on when you're leaving for the airport, whether it's right after the session or if you're going to spend some time in Salt Lake for the day. But we usually do end on a high note, and this is another opportunity for you guys to spend a little bit of time kind of learning from each other. So first-timers, we've got some questions for you, why you're going. And I want you over the next week and a half or so to really think about why you're going to the Utah school. I'd love for you to spend a little bit of time putting some goals together. What do you want to learn about yourself? What do you want to learn about the addiction process? What do you want to learn about others? How are you going to take your experience at the Utah school and then add value to your chapter, to your local community, maybe to your family? These are all kind of things that I want you to think about as you're flying out there. So just jot some things down that you can. I also want to make sure that everybody has somebody to connect with. We have to limit the number of students that come from each school and college of pharmacy. So some of you are flying out by yourself or you're staying out by yourself, and we really don't want you to be isolated. We've had incidents in the recent years where we've had students come to the school and they maybe isolate and stay in their room for 3 or 4 days, and we kind of have to have some of the alumni and the mentors kind of go out and talk to that student. Unfortunately, one year we had a student come out to the school. We saw him the first day. We didn't see him the next couple days. He ended up flying home, and he actually committed suicide. So it's very important because some of the issues that are brought up this week really kind of stir up some emotions that maybe have kind of always been under the surface, but you've never been able to talk about them. So that's something that we want you to be aware of. And we've got plenty of staff members, ambassadors, mentors, alumni. They all want to help you, and they want to get you through this process the best way that they can. And if you're feeling alone, please let us know, and there's always no dumb questions. Missy, I've been talking forever here. Why don't you take the next couple of slides for me?
Sure. Thank you, Keith. One thing that we wanted to highlight here were our student ambassadors. This program is, as Keith highlighted for you, is a very busy program. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to learn. And most of the attendees, this is their first time through the program. And so we could not do this the way that we do if it weren't for the student ambassadors. And ambassadors are students who attend the Utah school, and because they enjoyed it, because they learned so much, because they feel connected, they want to come back and give back to the school and help make it a success in future years. And so one of the ways that they do that is to come back as an ambassador. We have a total of 7 ambassadors from all over the United States who are coming back this year. And their primary role is to help make those first-time attendees especially feel welcome, answer questions, whether it be something as simple as where's the bathroom or when's the next break, to helping get first-time attendees in touch with somebody if they need to talk through some difficult or some important issues. And so they're there to really just take care of the attendees and make sure that they have all of their needs met throughout the entire program. You'll see them frequently. One of the things that they do is actually check badges. So as attendees are coming into the room, they'll be staged right at the doors. And so you'll have a lot of opportunity to reach out to the ambassadors, to ask them questions, to get to know them throughout the entire week. And it's a lot of fun for the attendees, and it's a lot of fun for the ambassadors. they're going to be reaching out to you to kind of get to know you throughout the week. One of the things that we will also have those ambassadors do is put together some preparation materials. And so as I mentioned earlier, we've got that document that they put together for us for this year. It looks great. We're going to send that out so you have that as a reference. The other thing that the ambassadors are going to be doing is posting on Facebook leading up to the session, and then also throughout the entire Utah school, and then also posting on Twitter. And so they'll be kind of monitoring that, responding to questions that come up on the Facebook page or on Twitter, and making sure that that all stays it stays positive. So that's one of the things that they will do. Rachel Bauer, actually, I wanted to call her out. She's a pharmacist. So she came as a student, and then she came back as an ambassador, and now she's a pharmacist and is coming back again. And so she'll take a leadership role throughout the week as well. A couple of things that I wanted to mention just about how to prepare and what to expect while you're there. There are some rules and some etiquette that will need to be followed throughout the week. So one of the things that we always guide the attendees on is that you will hear a lot of personal stories. A lot of the attendees and the presenters will share things about themselves that are personal. And so it's important to keep the names of these folks and their stories confidential, both during the week and then when you get back to your hometowns and when you get back to your schools. It's important to kind of share your experience and share with your classmates, teachers, mentors, et cetera, what you learned. But it will be up to each and every one of you as attendees to make sure to do that respectfully and to make sure to respect everyone's privacy who did share those personal stories throughout the week. And so the way that we kind of describe it is what is said in Utah stays in Utah. We also want to make the point that during this week, we have a lot of folks that are in attendance that are in recovery, and it's very difficult to know how those who are in recovery are doing on a day-to-day basis. And so we want to be very supportive of those people and very respectful of anyone who is in recovery. And so because of that, we ask that all of the attendees avoid alcohol and drug use, both on campus as well as off campus, throughout the entire week. It's just 1 week. And so we ask that everyone makes a commitment that from the time the school starts to the time the school is over, that you refrain from any alcohol or drug use. If you have any questions or concerns about that, please feel free to get in touch with us, and we'll talk you through that. But that is something that we wanted to let you know of now so that you can prepare for that. Okay, a couple of more housekeeping type rules. Parking is strictly enforced on campus. They do a good job of making sure that everyone who does have a car is able to park and get around, but you want to make sure to obey all of the rules and be mindful of the parking lots that you're allowed to park in and the parking lots that you're not allowed to park in, or else you might get a ticket. And so it's monitored throughout the year. And we have had instances where attendees have gotten parking tickets because they parked in the wrong lot. Smoking is not permitted near or in the buildings, and so you want to plan accordingly. We will be monitoring all of the sessions to make sure that there is no video or audio recording that goes on during any of the sessions. So if you are hoping or expecting to be able to record anything, then just know that that's not allowed in any capacity during any of the sessions. And then also, as we've already discussed, alcohol and drugs are not permitted on campus, and so you want to make sure to follow that rule throughout the entire week. Okay, I'll turn things over to Keith to administer the last poll question.
Great. So we talked about the University of Utah School being around for 63 years, and so we want to know if you know what year the pharmacy section was established. So 79, 81, 83, 85, 87. And I think for the majority of you, you were not born yet.
All right, so our poll is now open for you to cast your vote. And it looks like almost everyone has gotten their answer in, so if you haven't, go ahead and do that. All right, we'll go ahead and close the poll and see what the results are. So here are the results. You see those on the screen. It looks like The majority of people said 1983 at 32%. The second most popular answer was 1981 at 28%.
And the correct answer is 1983, so good job, guys. I'm going to spend a little bit of time unpacking what it's like to hike up the mountain, because this is a big question that we always get each year. So this is the mountain. It's actually the foothills of the Wasatch Mountain Range, and it's located directly behind the dormitory. So if you arrive on campus and you pretty much look to all the way to the right, you'll see some extremely large mountains with some snow still on the top, hopefully. And if you look all the way over to the left, this is the, it's actually a hill. It's not that big of a mountain there, but here's some of the scenery that you'll kind of see as we kind of walk up the mountains there. You'll see everything in June is extremely green and very nice looking. I don't know what it's been like this past year, but we usually end up with a wonderful, wonderful week in June when we kind of go up. So for those of you who are interested a little bit more in maps, you'll actually see some of the topography here. It's about 6,200, 6,100 feet up as we kind of go. The red circle there over by where it says Fort Douglas, that is actually the area where our dorms are located. So we'll actually walk on some streets for just a little bit, and we'll actually cut through basically a couple businesses, parking lots, and we actually enter through kind of a pathway. And we'll travel up the, it's more or less of kind of a rocky terrain as you kind of go up, as you'll see here, some of the students. It's a lot of loose gravel. It's a lot of kind of dirt as you kind of go up through. But you'll see everybody is smiling and all excited at the bottom, and that's pretty typical. But as you kind of make your way up top, people get less and less friendly. But you can kind of see it. Most of the area that we kind of walk up are all kind of washouts from water. So you do need to watch your ankles, and you need to kind of be careful of some of the vegetation that's up there. So as you kind of go through, there's a couple different points where we want to make sure that everybody's fully aware of, and we'll talk about this right before we go up, but we want to make sure you kind of always stay to your right. If you want to kind of stop at a couple places, there's a good view about a quarter of the way up, and then at about 3/4 of the way up, there's 2 points where you can actually stop, see a good view, and if you want to continue back down to the bottom, you can do that. As you kind of go up through from beyond where that second red arrow was kind of on the top there, you kind of get to a little bit more of a rocky area as you kind of go up. So you're going to leave some of that washout, leave some of that loose gravel, and you're going to kind of start going up on top of large rocks. And this is where you kind of make your way kind of by grabbing some of the rocks and kind of scaling up things. You'll see a lot of the bushes that they have there. There's a lot of the very kind of woody type of brush there. So you do want to make sure that you do watch out for that, because you can scrape your legs actually pretty bad. Every year it seems like I do that. But you want to make sure that when you do come to Utah that you have some sort of good appropriate footwear. So you don't need to go out and buy all-on hiking boots, but it does help when you've got a good set of boots there, or a really good set of sneakers. A couple of years, some students went up with flip-flops, and frankly, I just thought that was crazy. But to each their own. But at the top of the mountain there, as you can see, there's quite a bit of rocks, and you kind of can scale some things, and you kind of got to move around. So it does escalate as you go up higher, and you could stop before this point, obviously, but it is a little bit of a moderate type of hike there. So that's in that upper portion there from the bottom arrow to the kind of the top arrow. And we usually kind of stay up the top pretty much till about 8 o'clock, 8:15. Luckily, it's usually one of the longest days of the year that we do go up there, but staff is usually the last down, so we make sure that everybody is safe. Please, please, please wear some long socks. If you have pants, do that, or a little bit longer shorts, definitely do that. Bring some sunscreen, lots of water. Obviously, you want to bring a camera. But one of the things I do want to talk about is the buddy system. We need to make sure that everybody does get up and get down effectively as well as efficiently, but that everybody is safe. We usually do carry a first aid kit with us, and we had to use it a couple of years here, but try to stay together if y'all can. There are rattlesnakes. This is an area where you do find some rattlesnakes. However, with close to 150 people, 200 people kind of walking up. A lot of the foot shuffle does kind of scare them away. It's only been a couple years out of the 10 or 12 years that I've been at Utah that I've seen a rattlesnake, and they usually don't bother you. Kind of just watch where you put your hands when you move up the rocks and kind of shuffle your feet while you're going up there. But hydrate all day long. For those of you who are at sea level, for the majority of us we are on the I-95 corridor, hydrate all day long while you're up there because it is really dry, as Missy mentioned. And make sure you bring some chapstick as well. So we will meet on Monday, June 16th at 5:45 in the quad. That's the area kind of outside the dorms there. We'll take a nice picture. And the group that wants to go to Red Butte Garden, we'll all kind of walk together, and we'll kind of split as we kind of move up. But we'll have the Red Butte group as well as the hikers kind of go up, and we'll leave up there. So in here, yes, there is a rattlesnake. I don't know if you can kind of see the picture there. But that was one of the pictures that was taken several years ago, I think, by Missy. But yes, there are snakes up there, so you kind of want to be prepared for that. As I mentioned earlier, Charlie's going to lead the group to go up to the Red Butte Gardens. And I encourage anybody who really wants to go up there. It's just an absolutely beautiful scene. A lot of nice areas, a lot of great areas to take pictures with. You just got some beautiful, beautiful things to see up there. So that is our orientation to Utah School. Hopefully we've answered as many questions as you can on how to prepare for the school. When we get to Utah during that 4 o'clock hour when we kind of do our welcome and orientation, we're going to start talking about the goal development and what to expect from the maybe emotional side of the week, or kind of what to expect from a mentor-mentee type of relationship. So kind of prepare a little bit of that, but we want to make sure that everybody's fully ready to get up to Utah without any issues. It looks like we've got about 14 questions that are typed out. Crystal, I'm going to have you help us out again. Crystal, why don't you read the questions, and then Missy and I will try to take them as best as possible, and we'll kind of go from there. We'll see how things go.
All right, thank you, Keith. While we're getting our questions organized, Keith, can you go back to the slide that has the Facebook and Twitter information on it?
Yeah, absolutely.
We did get a question requesting that information, so if you could throw that up there while we're answering the rest of them. Our first set of questions is around the arrival and check-in process, and specifically what people should do if they're arriving on Saturday. So Missy, Keith, would you guys walk people through, if you're checking in on Saturday, what you need to do?
Do you want to take that, Missy?
I can take a stab at that.
Okay.
So if anyone is arriving on Saturday, the process is much the same as it is on Sunday. And so what you'll do once you get to the airport, you'll either take the tracks or a cab to the university. If you're staying in the guest house, then you'll just check into the guest house, just like you would a regular hotel. If you're staying in the dorms, then the first place that you'll want to go, either on Saturday or on Sunday, is the Heritage Center. The Heritage Center is kind of the hub for the dorms, and that's where you will actually register for the dorm. And so you will get your key, you'll get your map and your information there, and then they'll show you where to check in and where to find your dorm building. So that's what you'll do there in order to get your dorms. If you're arriving and it's going to be past 10 p.m., then so if it's late at night, the Heritage Center actually closes and they don't staff it. What you'll do in that instance is you'll actually go to the university guest house, even if you're staying at the dorm, because they centralize all that Heritage Center stuff at the university guest house. So you'll actually get registered there, and then you'll go over to your dorms. So if you're there before 10 p.m., go to Heritage Center. If you're there after 10 p.m., go to the guest house, and you'll get squared away for the dorm. For anyone that's arriving on, well, I guess if you're arriving late on Sunday afternoon and you don't have time to check into the Heritage Center, that's okay. You'll just want to go right to the open Union building because you'll just go right into the Sunday afternoon session. And then when that Sunday afternoon session is over, then you'll go back to the Heritage Center and get checked in. That'll be no problem. So that's kind of where I would draw the line, is if you get in around 2 p.m. or later on Sunday, if your flight lands on 2 p.m. or later on Sunday, then I would go right to the Union building. Keith, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, great job. Thank you.
Missy, what time does the Heritage Center open on Saturday and Sunday?
You know what, that's a good question. I want to say it's 8 a.m., but let me do some checking really quickly while we're on the call, and I'll see if I can't get that answer verified.
All right, great, thank you. Our next question, and Keith, this is probably one for you, is that the slides that you've gone through this evening, are those going to be posted somewhere for access after the presentation? And if so, where can the students find them?
Yeah, absolutely, great question. So we are recording this webinar tonight, and we're going to make the webinar available on pharmacist.com. It's going to be under the Chapter Officer Resources section under the APhA-ASP page. And you just click on the webinars, and we list it there. So what I'll also do is I'll send all of the attendees a link to the webinar. Probably we'll get that posted by no later than Thursday.
Okay, and Keith, I would say probably another question for you. If a student is interested in the Track 2, and I think this is referring to the Thursday scheduling, you had mentioned Track 2 and Track 1. If a student's interested in the Track 2 programming, which is geared towards pharmacists, is it okay for them to go to that section?
Absolutely. The issue that we're going to run into is space. So we have one of the largest rooms within the union building for the entire pharmacy section, so we seat just over 300 in our room. The pharmacist Track 2 section is in a smaller room. I want to say that holds maybe around 100. So if students want to head over there, they definitely can, but it is going to be space limited. I would ask, though, on Thursday morning that if you are going to go to the intervention and counseling session, that you only attend that you don't get up and leave.
All right, and our next question is probably going to be one for Missy. It's regarding university credit. If someone has signed up for the credit, but they now want to cancel, how would they go about doing that? And maybe if you could just give a general overview of the university credit itself, that would be great.
Sure. So I'll start by answering the specific question, and that would be to reach out to Susan Langston, and she is on the registration materials for the University of Utah School. So she will help you to withdraw from that. There is a deadline. There is a deadline in order to withdraw, but we're well in advance of that, so that should not be a problem. But Susan Langston would be the one to actually coordinate that. So we can, if anyone has any particular questions, just get in touch with me, and I'll get you her contact information to help you with that. In terms of the university credit, I'll just give a quick overview. So the University of Utah, as part of this program, offers up to 2 credit hours of university credit that can be transferred from the University of Utah into your College of Pharmacy and then applied towards your pharmacy degree. And the colleges will do it one of 2 ways. Some colleges actually require that you take the University of Utah credit and that credit be transferred. Some schools and colleges of pharmacy actually incorporate this into one of the classes that is offered through that college. And so if that's the case, then you don't necessarily need university credit in order to get credit from your own school or college of pharmacy. So for everyone who is not quite sure what they need to do in terms of getting University of Utah credit, then speak to your advisor who can help you determine whether or not you actually need University of Utah credit that's transferred. So because it's up to 2 credit hours and we have only 5 days to get all of the hours and meet all of the requirements for university credit, they're very, very strict in terms of attendance and completing all of the required assignments before they'll actually issue any university credit. And so I want to make sure that everyone is well prepared for that expectation. And so it's required for students who are getting university credit to attend 100% of the required sessions. So just be prepared that you want to get in to Utah in plenty of time to attend that Sunday night session, and you want to stay or plan on staying and schedule your flight such that you can complete all of the sessions on Friday afternoon before you have to leave to the airport. It seems like every year there are a few students who, for whatever reason, schedule flights that require them to leave early on Friday or get in late on Sunday, and that just simply doesn't work to obtain university credit. So you want to make sure that you schedule your flights accordingly. That's a common question and concern that comes up. So in addition to attending all of the sessions, there is a session that Keith mentioned already on Monday afternoon that's actually during the lunch hour. where you'll attend an informational session on university credit. And what we go over in that Monday afternoon session is all of the logistics and assignments that you'll have in order to get the credit, and then the deadlines, because there are pretty strict deadlines that they adhere to in terms of getting your credit. And so in addition to attending the sessions, you'll have to do a brief paper or a small paper that talks about your experience, and you'll have to get that emailed into the university by the deadline in order to get your grade. And so we'll talk through all of that on Monday afternoon. That is a mandatory session for anyone that's pursuing university credit. So if you have any other specific questions about that, then go ahead and type that over to Crystal, and we can talk through it at that time.
All right, thank you, Missy.
Mm-hmm.
This next one could be for either of you. Would you recommend that students bring a laptop with them for the week? And a follow-up to that is, where is internet access available both in the dorms and within the classroom?
Sure. I can go ahead and take that. So Wi-Fi is available throughout the entire campus, and so you'll get information on that when you register at the dorms, but it's widely available and open to the public. In terms of whether or not you want to bring a laptop, I would actually recommend against it. Because the speakers are highly engaging. They have slides. Most of the presentations, in fact, almost all of them, don't require that you take notes or do any writing. All of the information that is in the slides will be given to you when you register on site. You'll actually get a binder that has the slides, the handouts, any supportive materials that you need to have to get the most out of the session. That will be given to you when you arrive on site. And so I would recommend against using laptops during any of the sessions. The most important thing, in my opinion, after having seen this class or seen this program for several years, in order to get the most out of the sessions, we need your attention and your focus. And so I wouldn't focus on taking notes. I would just focus on being present and listening and participating in the discussions, getting to know your peers and students from around the country who are going through this program with you. So that's kind of my take on it. I don't know, Keith, if you have a different opinion or another perspective.
No, I agree. I completely agree. Unless the laptop or your tablet or something like that is the way that you take notes, and that's the way that you feel most comfortable doing it, bring that. But you want to limit the amount of distractions that you have during the session, as well as distracting others.
Sure. And we don't have a lot of power. So in that room, so there's certainly not enough power to accommodate lots of laptops and chargers and those kinds of things. So make sure to plan for that as well.
All right. Our next question is another housing question, and if a student is checking out on Saturday after the meeting is over instead of on Friday, what do they need to do?
So the first way that you'll indicate that is when you register. So for those of you who are staying on Saturday, you'll want to make sure that that's part of your registration materials that you sent in when you registered for the school. And then you'll want to check in, when you check in with the Heritage Center, you want to make sure that your reservation and the documentation that they give you indicates that you're staying through Saturday morning. And so if it shows that you're leaving on Friday, you'll want to ask the registration desk there to update the reservation and change it to Saturday. So there are a couple of ways to do it. One, you need to make sure to register for that up front, and then two, when you register, make sure that they've got that down correctly. But that's kind of the process. And then they're there on Saturday as well, so you'll just check out like everyone else. Well, you'll just do it on Saturday.
All right. This next couple of questions is regarding the public transportation system that you mentioned, Missy. So what are the costs associated with using that transportation system?
It depends on the ticket you buy. You can buy one-way passes, and it's between $1 and $3 for individual trips. If you buy passes, you can also buy all-day passes or all-week passes, so that you can use it at your will throughout that whatever date range you purchase. And so at the tracks, stations that you get to, you'll be able to buy a pass, and you can see the various options that are available for you. So I would say if you if you're taking just a couple of trips downtown, then I would just buy the one-way passes to get you through those trips. If you wanted to be able to explore every night, then you might have different options. But the Ride Utah website will be able to talk you through that as well. So if you're curious about that, then I would encourage you to spend a little bit of time on that website.
All right, and we're down to our final couple of questions. So if anyone has thought of something that they want to send in last minute, please go ahead and get those typed and sent in. This next question is regarding facilities on campus. So will people that are staying on campus have access to any of the recreational facilities, the gym, etc.?
Yes, and so my understanding is that there's a small workout facility at the University of Guest House, and that there's a small workout facility at the Marriott Hotel, so you will be able to use those if you're a guest there. The University of Utah does have facilities available. You have to go and register for those, and so what you want to do is indicate that you're a student at the University of Utah School in Alcoholism and Drug Dependency, and you need a pass, a student pass, for whatever period of time that you're staying there. And so it is available. We have had students that are interested in using those facilities during the week, and we just leave it up to each individual to go and pursue that, but it is available to you. One other thing that I would mention is that Utah in June is absolutely gorgeous, and we have tons of hiking paths and running trails and biking trails and lots of sort of outdoor areas where if you want to get your workout in, you can certainly do that. And so I would encourage everybody to take advantage of the outdoors as much as possible during the week.
All right, for people that are renting cars or are staying off campus and driving to campus for the session, what are the regulations when it comes to parking? So can they get parking passes? If so, where? And then where are the best lots for them to park at so that they can avoid getting tickets?
Sure. So, Keith, I may have you weigh in on the parking pass for the Union building. But for the dorms, when you register for the dorms, one of the questions that they'll ask you is whether or not you have a car. And if you have a car, then you'll be able to park in that parking lot around the dorms. And that's free. There's no additional fee for that. I believe, and Keith and I can research this, but I believe that if you would like to park at the Union building, so if you don't want to walk between the dorms and the Union building, if you want to drive your car there, then you can purchase a parking pass for one of the lots that is right in front of that Union building. And again, I'd have to verify, but I want to say it's like $20-some for the week. We'll respond. We'll get that information.
Yeah, I don't know the exact cost, but I think it's a little bit more than $20. But you do have to purchase a parking pass, and you'd obtain that parking pass at registration for the school, not registration for your dorm room. But it would allow you to park in the A or the U lot.
All right. Our next question is, other than a receipt for registration, is there anything else a student should be expecting via the Postal Service mail, or I would say in the next coming weeks, is there any other communications people should be on the lookout for?
I would say no. Make sure you pay attention to your email over the next couple weeks. Definitely sign up for that Facebook page because we're going to post some things through the ambassadors on the event page. But beyond that, I don't think you're going to receive anything else via mail. You're going to pick up everything at registration.
All right, and we are down to our final question, and that's regarding if you signed up for roommates. Is there a way to find out before the meeting who your roommates are, and if so, how would you do that?
I know that Sue Langston and Nancy Anderson do the best that they can do to group people together. So pretty much, I don't think I've ever had a case where if you wrote down the person's name that you want to stay with, that you don't get that person. But I don't think that they would want calls right now because they're just overwhelmed kind of this next couple weeks getting ready for the school. But I don't know, Missy, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
I think basically I think you're going to find out when you get there.
Yeah.
All right, well, those are all of our questions, so I will turn it back over to you, Keith, to close us for the evening.
Well, again, I wanted to thank everybody for joining us this evening and spending the time with us to kind of get oriented to the Utah School. I'm going to make sure that p.com is updated with all the information and all the links that are correct there. So the Utah School website, the general sessions that are available, the pharmacy section agenda, pharmacy section information, that should all be updated very shortly. And as Missy mentioned earlier, the ambassadors are going to be sending out the kind of what to expect document and where to eat sort of thing. But if you guys do have questions, please send us an email. We'll try to respond to that as quickly as we can. Email kind of will shut down probably Friday, June 13th. So if you want to kind of get a hold of us after then, it'd be best to kind of go to that Facebook page and have one of the ambassadors or even one of the staff members kind of answer it from there. But thank you so much for spending time with us in the webinar this evening. We appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you guys in just a couple weeks here. Take care and good night.